Okay, well, thank you very much for attending the Virtual Developer Day, harnessing the power of Oracle WebLogic and Oracle Coherence. My name is Mike Lehmann. I am the Vice President of Cloud Application Foundation with WebLogic Server and Coherence, being driven and developed by my product management and engineering teams. Really looking forward to you participating in the Virtual Developer Day. What I'm going to do is walk you through a bit of a keynote technical overview of some of the key characteristics we've got with WebLogic Server and Coherence that you'll be trying out and working with during the Virtual Developer Day. So thanks very much for attending, and let's get down to business. As we always do, we often have a sort of pre-position statement at the very front. We do have to give this statement that this is only for informational purposes and can be incorporated in any contract. So please bear this in mind with the presentation as we go forward. So on to business. Cloud Application Foundation to a large degree is made up of our core runtime infrastructure. We recently released our most up-to-date version of WebLogic Server, WebLogic Server 12c. Release 12.1.2, a major new update to the release. We included that our first 12c release of Coherence, our in-memory caching or data grid technology. So a very exciting release in the summer of 2013, and is now being actively used by customers, developers, and people around the world. And obviously in this Virtual Developer Days, we're really excited to have you trying it out hands-on. It is important to understand that calling the core runtime of WebLogic Server 12c and Coherence 12c also at the same time had a major update of our Enterprise Manager management infrastructure for this solution. At the same time, it actually was during July of 2013. Also had a major new release of our development tools, which you'll be using today with Developer 12.1.2, Eclipse, the Oracle Eclipse pack for Oracle Enterprise pack for Eclipse 12.1.2, and that's actually a big session that we're covering today, and our ADF framework, Application Development Framework. So this is exciting that we managed to bring out a major new release of the middleware, the tools, and the management infrastructure 12c. It was actually corresponding to database 12c, so there's a lot of push to our entire portfolio going to the 12c release. Very powerful release, exciting release. The C stands for cloud, and you're going to see some of the capabilities not only in the Virtual Developer Days, but I'll lay out some of the technical roadmap that we put into the product in this talk that you're listening to right now. So here's where we are in terms of what I will take you through, as well as the map of the Virtual Developer Day event itself. So you're in the keynote right now. There's going to be sessions in 2 tracks, one on development and then one on build deploy. So you'll have to work with the products in each of these 2 tracks. There is a Twitter hashtag that goes along with this, Oracle VDD, that you can tweet your participation in it and sort of your experience as you go along. We'll see that there are hands-on labs as well. So there's an HTML5/mobility lab, and then more on the sort of core development lifecycle, a Maven lab as well. So some great material that you'll be participating and learning and working with over the day-to-day. To set some context of why we are investing, and we've done this major new release of 12c. When you look at sort of analysts looking at the industry, such as you see that your management, my management, as we are looking at what customers are doing, what you are looking at doing, we see a big investment around building new infrastructure, particularly around initiatives like cloud, mobility, big data, social are sort of really large trends in the industry. And what I see personally when I'm visiting customers is people are trying to build new projects around leveraging these to provide significant value to their business, whether that be reducing costs, as is a major trend here, or in fact increasing productivity around different aspects of the business. So, you know, some real big trends that are happening in the industry from a tech perspective, and they do correspond ultimately to real business drivers in your organization. And I think you'll be surprised to see how well the 12C release capabilities that I'll be talking about fit so nicely in help you drive some of these capabilities, whether it be operational efficiencies, whether it be new capabilities, leveraging technologies like big data, social mobility, cloud, or whether it be just simply, you know, making yourself incredibly more productive with some of the capabilities we've introduced in the product. Now, if you look at my product line's strategy, you know, what are the infrastructure requirements that we are trying to address with Cloud Application Foundation, WebLogic, and Coherence? To a degree, many, if not most of our customers are building out a full cloud infrastructure, and they're building out a set of applications that they want to leverage a mission-critical cloud infrastructure. So the end customer is typically leveraging the cloud platform, and typically in the IT environments, there's a service provider mentality emerging around being the mission-critical cloud platform or provider. And there's a software that these IT organizations expect, and their user experience that the end user customers expect. In the service provider side of the house, when you're building out a cloud infrastructure, one of the big focuses we see is the need to drive efficiency, simplicity, and consolidation around operational characteristics of the cloud itself. And then finally, once you put in the sort of infrastructure for running the cloud and operating the cloud, there's a huge predisposition to increasing the agility and time to market experience when building new applications. I'm putting out a new mobile application. Often the requirement is I need it now, and I mean now, kind of imagining the manager going, I've promised my business that I needed it right away, and the development teams are often under huge pressure to deliver these solutions incredibly fast. So what we're trying to do as we build out the Cloud Application Foundation infrastructure is really meet a lot of these requirements. When you look at my team's investment when we're building out WebLogic Server, Coherence, development infrastructure, the operational infrastructure, this is how we're responding to it. There's some direct responses to those requirements, like having a full standards-based platform based on Java EE, this Java SE. We are the steward of Java, so we continue to drive those standards forward. More so, we're putting a significant investment around HTML5 and mobility. So that's sort of on the left-hand side of our investment strategy really is around standards, productivity, and trying to address that time to market from a developer perspective. We continue to have a huge investment around performance, high availability, quality of service, and more so around multi-data center support. As people start building out these cloud infrastructures, the critical characteristics of the runtime like WebLogic and Coherence around high availability, reliability, scalability are really the heart and soul of anybody who's building out a cloud infrastructure. And you move into large global cloud infrastructures, the ability to do active multi-center support becomes critical. These actually are existing and new investment areas for the Cloud Application Foundation. A couple of very specific capabilities that we look for inside of the Cloud Application Foundation. For example, we have a layered set of capabilities with our Fusion middleware, SOA, business process management, our portal, and end user experience, content management, identity management, and so forth. And to a degree, these extensions are built entirely on top of the Cloud Application Foundation, Oracle's Fusion Middleware portfolio. Business applications are standard-based infrastructure on WebLogic Server and Coherence. And to some degree, it gives you as a developer, you as an administrator, a good sense that it is a mission-critical platform because you're using it in mission-critical deployments. It's part of deployment for cloud in our environment. And then finally, it is a foundation for our middleware infrastructure. Highlight, of course, is our engineered systems. More so, people are looking for sort of an out-of-the-box administrative and operational experience where they get incredible performance and reliability on a fully engineered system. And finally, they also get a ongoing capabilities around a completely cycle experience built into the environment. Now, one investment that we've recently added in here is a big focus around density, basically providing on a smaller amount of hardware on our engineered system the same amount of workload, if not dramatically more. And this is where you start seeing some of the benchmarks that you might have seen in magazines of like 10x better performance. And this is enabling us to have significantly better density on these engineered systems. So they're, in a sense, our response to those requirements that we discussed on the previous slide. So a big focus area, trying to address those direct requirements. Now, when you look at the cloud, we named our infrastructure portfolio the Cloud Application Foundation. One of the very cool things about it is how flexible it is to run across multiple environments. So clearly, we run on-premise and continue to run on-premise with both conventional hardware like Dell, IBM, HP, our very own Oracle infrastructure. Of course, on our engineered systems, whether those be WebLogic and Exadata, or whether that be in our supercluster line, or even our database appliance. There's a set of workload-specific appliances, and then, of course, we fully support conventional hardware inside your data center. And to a large degree, when you run in this environment, when you use the Cloud Application Foundation, you have full customization to your environment fully available. Now, the other side of the coin is that there are a number of third-party cloud infrastructures as well. And what's really important to be aware of here is that we recently announced a partnership with Microsoft, and our software WebLogic Server Oracle Database are actually available as Hyper-V images, VM images on Azure. We've had customers that have been deploying on Amazon Web Services. So one of the interesting things about our portfolio is how it runs on-premise, it runs on third-party clouds, and then, of course, if you've looked at our Oracle Cloud infrastructure, we also have our software available on Oracle Cloud, where we have the Java Cloud service. And then more recently at Open World, we announced our Java service, which is more WebLogic server instances with some managed service value added on top for things like backup recovery, patching, and high availability DR services. So this is to give you a sense that when you work on premise, you have you have full control over the environment inside your data center. You can start merging or taking advantage of these third-party cloud environments, and then finally the Oracle Cloud. And as you move to the right, typically you start seeing value-add services, proven best practices, and simplified operations provided as part of the value proposition in that environment. And that's where we have this huge focus of investment as we go forward around all these three dimensions of cloud deployment. As I mentioned, we did have the major new release this past summer of 2013 with WebLogic Server 12c, Coherence 12c, the Enterprise Manager, and development tools. What I'll do now is I'm going to drill down a little bit into some of the key capabilities that came out and that you'll actually be utilizing today as you work through the virtual developer days going forward. So let's on WebLogic Server 12c. So this was a major update. We did release WebLogic Server 12.1, the first 12c release late in December, late in 2011, early January 2012. It was a year ago. But then this past summer we did this update to 12c 12.1.2, and there's some really exciting new capabilities, ranging from some elasticity with dynamic clusters, new database 12c integration, taking advantage of some of the multi-tenant characteristics of the database, major update of some of the management capabilities with the install, update, and administrative tools, and some great work that you'll be experiencing, I hope, around HTML5 and Maven integration. So this was a pretty exciting and major functional upgrade for the product line. So let's just down a little bit into a couple of the capabilities. One of the areas I wanted to highlight was the introduction of dynamic clusters. Now, what happens here is, you can see with the graphic sort of extending into sort of a cluster growing dynamically, is you're able to set a minimum and maximum size for the cluster. So rather than setting a fixed size for the cluster, you set a min and a max, and then based on your workload requirements, you can have WebLogic Server dynamically scale up or scale down. You can do this in a simple command line to scale up or scale down, and it takes care of things like ports and machine naming and so forth. Or you actually use tools like Enterprise Manager to monitor metrics and have this triggered for you based on metrics like CPU or workload coming into your environment. This is a very cool new feature that we introduced in 12.1.2. One of the more popular ones that I've seen as I've talked to customers, and we've seen the early adoption of WebLogic Server 12.1.2. The other piece that I think is really exciting in 12c WebLogic Server is the integration with Oracle Database 12c. Oracle Database 12c had a number of features around application continuity, multi-tenancy, some really interesting work around connection pool virtualization from the middleware, allowing you to scale out the middleware in new and unique ways. What's really cool about this from a WebLogic perspective is we did native integration with each of these major capabilities in the Oracle database. So application continuity, for example, is the ability to, if a transaction fails in mid-flight because there's some kind of maintenance activity on the database or a network connection failure, the Oracle database will actually notify WebLogic Server that this has happened, and the transaction is replayable. WebLogic Server will transparently replay it without you having to change anything in the application. The goal is to give you continued availability at the application level while the application server takes care of dealing with any failure conditions that might have happened in the database backend due to various activities. Another piece of big integration is the multi-tenant capability of the Oracle database. There was a capability called container database and pluggable databases introduced in Oracle database. This is allowing consolidation of multiple database instances to one container database. So it's a great story around consolidation. What in WebLogic Server is we've actually done a direct integration in there. So you can carry forward a tenant definition and dynamically switch between the pluggable databases in WebLogic in Oracle database. This is newly integrated into WebLogic Server. Of course, as you may know, we've always had these. We've had a great capability called Active Grid Link for Web. WebLogic Server that continues to be carried forward in WebLogic Server 12.1.2, where we're able to do workload balancing, failure detection, as well as different types of affinities like transaction affinity, session affinity, and so forth. So an extremely strong area of the product line and some really exciting new capabilities in 12.1.2. Now, I do want to highlight that we had some pretty significant work done in Coherence 12c. This was the first 12c release of Coherence, and major new features. I will only touch on a few really big technical highlights here. Really was done, Coherence is our in-memory caching technology, widely adopted in the industry. It's a common architectural pattern in our customers, and a lot of people are starting to realize as they roll out their cloud infrastructure, their mobile infrastructure, having a scale-out caching or data grid technology for their application server is a critical part of their architecture. We did some significant work around enabling the cache to always be up to date with some integration with Golden to solve what we call the stale cache problem, and then some really deep integration with WebLogic Server and Oracle Database. So some really powerful new integration capabilities in our Coherence 12c release. So let's dive into a couple details with WebLogic Server and Coherence integration. So now, as you see in this picture, let's treat WebLogic Server as simply a cluster of managed IE servers. Coherence is a native managed server type. It's actually called Coherence Managed Servers within the environment. And before, we have that integration with the Oracle Database I talked about with WebLogic Server, but Coherence is now playing within the cluster topology. And to sort of roll forward, what's interesting about the managed Coherence Server capability is how natively it's integrated into WebLogic Server. Here is a screenshot of the management console, and if you look closely, you might see that Coherence clusters is a native concept in this environment, and you can actually, in this particular one, that there's a Coherence cluster embedded in here. But important to realize here is that we've taken it quite a bit further in the 12.1.2 release of Coherence. So now there is a native deployment archive type, a grid archive, direct integration in with WebLogic scripting tool for managing the Coherence managed servers. There's integration with Node Manager to manage depth detection. And of course, there's the console integration. So it's a formalization of Coherence as an infrastructure. This is really what we consider to be a best practice deployment integration that you can take advantage of when you build Java applications, and that's natively built into the product. So very exciting development in the product line, how we've tied or integrated Coherence with WebLogic. It is important to note that Coherence still works completely independently of WebLogic Server, so it does work standalone. However, if you want to take advantage of this integration, it is natively integrated with WebLogic Server. Now, look at sort of the classical use cases that we see Coherence being used in. One of the big challenges we've seen with many deployments is how do you keep that cache of data in memory that your new applications, your mobile applications, your cloud applications, your HTML5 applications are accessing up to date? What happens when the data you're caching, say from the backend database, is updated from, say, a batch process or legacy client-server applications? How do I refresh the cache? Well, in the past, what you've had to do is you had to write scripts or come up with some kind of scheme to periodically refresh the cache. Now, in Coherence 12c, what we've done is we've introduced Coherence Golden Gate Hot Cache. This actually is taking advantage of our Golden Gate technology, our data transformation and movement product. And what it does is it listens to changes that you're interested in propagating to your cache on the Oracle database. It listens to the Oracle database transaction logs. Based on the changes that you want to propagate to it, Golden now will automatically propagate those changes into Coherence. The end result is that the cache is now always up to date with the data. Even if you have client-server applications updating the database, batch processes updating the database. This is a fantastic new feature. The Coherence Golden Gate Hot Cache is probably, from the Coherence audience, combined with the managed Coherence servers in WebLogic server, is probably the top two capabilities that we see our customers asking about and excited to try out in the 12C release. There's many more in Coherence. There's new availability with things like site safety, rack safety, new asynchronous backups, but these two sort of stand out as the big items that are new in Coherence 12C. Now, I want to also highlight as we go along that a big part of our integration story as we do our rollout of 12C is the integration in with our Enterprise Manager tooling. A big part of many people's deployment is Enterprise Manager WebLogic Management Pack. This includes Coherence and WebLogic Management extensions. And really what this is trying to do is enable you to do self-service management and diagnostics and monitoring of your cloud or private cloud deployment, and enable you to really scale the volume of infrastructure that you're managing without having a significant growth in people and infrastructure to do that. It's trying to automate that, simplify the operations with built-in management. Now, as you sort of look at what happened in 12C, it's interesting what we managed to bring together. We introduced this concept called WebLogic Management Framework. It basically lets you have a single management framework that carries through our web tier, our Oracle HTTP server, WebLogic server, and way down to Coherence. I already mentioned the Coherence managed servers. There's a similar set of integration in with our web tier where you can manage our Oracle HTTP server with WST scripts, Node Manager for depth detection, as well as a number of other things. So the WebLogic Management Framework is what you'll see when you look at our management infrastructure, and Enterprise Manager built on top of it, be sort of online solution that enables all of the Oracle user interface and infrastructure to surface because we now have a formalization of the management infrastructure. We are unique in terms of being able to do things like diagnosing and following transactions all the way in from the browser through the tier to the WebLogic server, through the various tiers, servlet, EJB, AMS, through to Coherence, and then finally into the database to even analyze the SQL statements. We do this by carrying a context ID. It's often called ECID or Execution Context ID through the entire infrastructure. And by doing that, we're able to surface up in Enterprise Manager very detailed and sophisticated log analysis, transaction analysis. We're able to set SLAs and get graphical representations of multi-domain analytics and so forth. We're even able to, with a number of capabilities above and beyond the runtime side of things, do things like patch automation, cloning, backup and recovery, and even disaster recovery automation with SiteGuard, which is a part of the management pack environment. So this is an incredibly rich solution for the management infrastructure and surfacing it through a window on your application deployment infrastructure. Really integration with Enterprise Manager Cloud Control Release 3. Above and beyond the management and deployment and runtime infrastructure, of course, we have our development tools. Here, of course, there's a major new release of, it's the first release, frankly, of Oracle JDeveloper 12C, our enterprise pack for Eclipse, which you'll be using today in the virtual developer days, as well as we continue to have great support from NetBeans. And then the new release of ADF 12C. There was a major update. It's really nice when we're able to put out the runtime, the management, and the development tools simultaneously, because it gives you a full sense of the entire life cycle of the development and deployment environment, and it's great to have the tools supporting that. And you might ask, well, what were some of the new things that we did in the development tools area of 12C? So we've a ongoing, particularly around integrating in the development life cycle, dependency management with Maven, integration into version control and build scripts, things like Git and Subversion, and then continuous integration, integration with tools like Hudson and cruise control, amongst others. So this has been a continued focus for WebLogic Server and Coherence. What we're trying to do is we're very conscious that in the developer community and our customers that are using these modern development environments, and WebLogic Server and Coherence need to play into that environment incredibly nicely. So what we've done with JDeveloper, the ADF environment, and Eclipse and Beans, we've deeply integrated not only the development environment, the code environment, we've also plugged in, for example, Maven extensions for Maven, where we have POM distributions, so you can build a private Maven repository out of the artifacts of WebLogic Server and Coherence. You'll be working with that day in the virtual developer days. I've done some great integration with Hudson for build automation. And of course, in the development tools themselves, there's a whole set of integration with extensions for Maven integration and so forth. I expect today in the Eclipse tool that you'll be using some of the Maven integration and taking advantage of the Maven plugins and the Maven POMs that we produce for both WebLogic Server and Coherence. Please be aware that the work that we've done here is really foundational work that also not only carries from the core cloud application foundation, but you'll see a number of the layered products like SOA and WebCenter also building on top of this as they release on top of 12C as well. So really exciting modernization of the development environment and acknowledgement that this is how most developers are actually building their applications today. So, in summary, when you step back, hopefully this quick tour, sort of kickoff that we've done here, gives you a good sense of what we're trying to do. So again, just reiterating the requirements that we're trying to address: delivering next generation mission critical cloud platform. When you look at what I've discussed with dynamic clusters in WebLogic Server, the multi-tenant integration with Oracle Database, the scale out capabilities of Oracle Coherence as an in-memory data grid, these are fundamental enabling capabilities that are part of delivering on this, meeting this requirement for building a mission-critical cloud platform. We got simplifying and consolidating operations with native cloud management. It's not only the enterprise manager capabilities where we have self-service and chargeback and metering, but it's some of the diagnosability capabilities, the monitoring, and then, as I noted, real deep management infrastructure integration with the WebLogic management framework. Mainly, enabling you to deliver development projects significantly faster, more agile fashion. Hopefully, in a sense, when we talk briefly about the development tools, not only the modernization around the integration, but some of the capabilities that we put in the platform itself with Maven integration. Of course, the standard support with WE6 and HTML5 is also a huge part of the overall solution. So with that, I want to just give you a couple references here. So as you go through the virtual developer days, you may be looking for additional resources that come along with this. You can get all the downloads if you go to oracle.com/go-to/cloud-app-foundation. And at that site, you'll also find a number of white papers and technical resources. My team did a significant investment in producing YouTube videos, really great technical papers on, for example, on the Coherence side, sizing and technical layouts on the WebLogic side, the Oracle database 12c integration. So there's some great material there, both in self-service YouTube videos as well as white papers, and even hands-on examples that you can go and get from the URL that's noted here. We have new training on from Oracle University. So as part of the 12c release, we also did updated WebLogic Server 12c training. So if you want to formalize above and beyond what we're doing today in the virtual developer days, they're truly instructor-led training and an emerging set of Oracle example tutorials that we have out on Oracle Technology Network around WebLogic Server and Coherence. But then there is instructor-led training as well on these latest releases. So this is, again, trying to make it as easy as possible for you to plug into this really exciting release and capabilities, not only through virtual development days, but also through formal training that we have in Oracle University. And then, of course, we did do Oracle OpenWorld in September 2013. There was a heck of a lot of material that my team generated around this. There are archives available, so please do take a look at oracle.com/openworld. If you did attend, obviously you have the entitlement to go check it out, and I think there's actually a number of really great keynotes that are available on the oracle.com site. So check it out there. You'll see some of the work that we've done around virtualization, cloud, integration with our engineered systems, as well as all of the stuff that I've been sort of giving you a taste of over the last 30 to 40 minutes just now. And with, I will wrap up. I will note that we are on social media. We have a Twitter vehicle for our stuff. Of course, we have the VDD Twitter handle that I mentioned if you're actually tweeting during the event itself. And then, of course, if you're listening for developments from the Cloud Application Foundation, WebLogic Server, and Coherence, we have Twitter, Facebook. We have an ongoing, very regularly updated blog. We're on LinkedIn. We have a great set of material on YouTube. So hope this day, the Virtual Developer Day, is good for you. Here is the tracks just to summarize what's on the agenda coming up. Of course, in track 1, we have hands-on. We have the HTML5 application development lab at 12 noon. We have visualizing and processing Twitter events in real time with Oracle Coherence. This is a very cool session the Coherence team has developed. We have some work with ADF 12c. Some really great stuff has come out in ADF 12c, particularly around mobility and also Java EE developments. We can do that all in Eclipse now. On the track 2 side, we have some great work around Maven and the build, test, deploy cycle with Oracle Cloud Application Foundation. We have a very exciting session, which is roll out a complete middleware development session, development environment in less than 10 minutes. You might go, how do I do that? Well, find out and check it out in track 2. And then we have some pretty interesting work around configuration management with Chef and Puppet. We're seeing Chef and Puppet as a scripting environment widely adopted in cloud environments. And you can see what we're doing there in track 2. So I think some what I would call really exciting 12c-oriented stuff, and then some stuff that maybe you might not have been expecting but is very commonly used in the industry, and now you'll see how they are used with the WebLogic and Coherence Cloud Application Foundation environment. And as you're working through these sessions and labs, you can tweet with the hashtag of Oracle VDD. Looking forward to the feedback as you go through the labs, and thank you very much for attending this keynote, and have a great day today.